What if I told you that the night the world stopped scrolling began not with fireworks, not with a scandal, but with a simple notification, a quiet vibration that sent millions of hearts racing and turned the internet into a living pulse? Sukai and Tan Songyun, names that for months had lived inside rumors, debates, and endless gossip threads, appeared side by side again. No filters, no stage lighting, no PR safety nets, just two people who had been hurt, misunderstood, and now ready to reclaim their story. It was almost poetic how it began. Sukai's studio went live. The screen flickered. The sound of soft breathing could be heard before the camera adjusted, and there she was, Tan Songyun, wearing a pale sweater, her hair loosely tied, eyes unreadable but full of depth. Sukai sat next to her, expression calm, yet something in his gaze carried the weight of months of silence. Within seconds, the viewer count exploded. 2 million. 4. Then 8. Then 12. The chat box flooded with hearts, questions, disbelief. Some wrote, "Is this real?" Others typed, "Please, say it's not what we think." But no one expected what came next. Sukai looked straight into the camera, his jaw tense but his tone soft, and said, "We stayed silent for too long." It was like time stopped. Those 6 words shattered the noise that had been building for months. It was as if the air itself exhaled. Tan Songyun blinked back tears, and the live chat froze for a moment, overwhelmed. "We thought truth didn't need defending," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "But when lies start hurting the people we care about, staying quiet starts to feel like betrayal." The sincerity in her tone, the quiver in her breath, was more powerful than any press release could ever be. She wasn't performing, she was speaking from a wound that had been bleeding in silence. Sukai nodded, reached for her hand, and held it gently, the way one steadies something fragile. "We never stopped supporting each other," he said. "We never stopped respecting one another. Whatever the internet decided, we always knew our truth." He turned slightly toward her and added softly, "She's one of the most genuine people I've ever known, and I'll always be grateful for her." The comment section turned into a waterfall of emotions. Fans wrote, "We're crying, we believe you. You don't owe anyone perfection." For months, tabloids had painted them as enemies, estranged co-stars who couldn't stand to be in the same room. Now, those same fans watched them sit shoulder to shoulder, hearts open, no walls left to hide behind. One viewer typed, "I never thought I'd see them together again. This feels like healing." And healing was exactly what it was. Because when a fan asked, "Were you hurt by everything people said?" Sukai didn't hide behind his usual composure. He sighed and nodded. "Of course I was. I think people forget that we're human too. Every headline, every rumor, it hurts. It affects not only us, but everyone around us. Our families, our friends, our teams. They suffer too." His voice cracked for the first time, and that raw vulnerability made millions fall silent. Tan Songyun's voice followed, quiet yet steady. "There were nights I couldn't sleep. I'd open my phone and see hundreds of comments, some cruel, some pitying. And I'd wonder if kindness still mattered in this world." Her eyes glistened as she whispered, "But tonight, I'm glad we're here. Glad we spoke up. Because no matter how painful, truth is the only thing that can breathe again after being buried alive." That line alone became the quote of the night. The internet erupted. #TruthBreathes trended within minutes. People called it the most honest live in years. Others said it was a masterclass in grace. Sukai, still holding her hand loosely, smiled faintly. "We don't owe anyone a perfect story," he said. "What we owe is honesty. And the truth is, we care for each other deeply. That hasn't changed, and it never will." Tan Songyun looked at him, smiled a soft, almost nostalgic smile, and replied, "Even if the world keeps twisting what we have, we'll still wish each other the best." Then, in one unplanned, breathtaking moment, Sukai reached into his pocket and pulled out a small Polaroid photo. "Do you remember this?" he asked, holding it toward the camera. It was a candid shot of them laughing during filming, their faces lit by golden afternoon light. The same image fans once twisted into proof of tension when seen from another angle. "This was taken 5 minutes after that angry picture everyone shared," he said softly. The internet saw one frame. We lived the whole story. The chat exploded with love and tears. Fans wrote, "I'm sobbing. This is real closure. They didn't fight lies with anger. They fought with truth." Entertainment sites crashed from the sudden surge of interest. Within an hour, headlines spread. Sukai and Tan Songyun break silence with grace and truth. The industry took notice. Veteran actors reposted the clip, praising their honesty. Director Yuning wrote, "In a world of masks, they showed faces." The fandom, once fractured by rumors, reunited under the banner #WeStandWithSukai. Old fan pages reconciled. The war that had divided them dissolved overnight. Comments turned from accusations to apologies. "We forgot they were human," one longtime supporter wrote. "We let gossip dictate how we love them. I'll never do that again." And then, in the final minutes of the live, came the moment that sealed the night in history. Tan Songyun turned to the camera, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please remember, behind every headline, there's a person. We make mistakes. We learn. We grow. And sometimes, we just need compassion." Sukai added, "Thank you for waiting for the truth. Thank you for not giving up on us." Then, without hesitation, he looked at her, smiled softly, and said, "No matter what happens next, we'll always have respect. That's what matters." The camera stayed on them for a few seconds longer, their hands close, but not touching, the silence between them saying more than words ever could. And then it faded to black. But the internet didn't. Within minutes, clips of the live flooded every corner of the web. Weibo, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all overflowing with edits, reactions, tears. "This," one user wrote, "is what humanity looks like." By sunrise, the broadcast had surpassed 2.8 billion reads on Weibo. Morning news shows replayed the emotional confession. Radio hosts called it a cultural reset. Even critics who once dismissed them admitted, it's rare to see celebrities confront rumors with such raw sincerity. At cafes, strangers shared headphones to rewatch. On subways, students whispered, "Did you see it?" In dorms, fans cried quietly, saying it felt like watching an old wound finally close. For weeks, the world had been cruel, spinning false stories about Sukai's temper, Tan Songyun's supposed distance, and third-party involvement. But the live dismantled it all, not through confrontation, but through gentleness. Because what viewers saw wasn't anger, it was familiarity, respect, peace. As one viral comment said, "You can fake smiles, but you can't fake peace," and they looked peaceful. The transformation that followed was extraordinary. Forums that once thrived on hate turned into spaces of reflection. People deleted their old posts, apologizing publicly. "I forgot they were human," one wrote. "I let rumors guide me instead of empathy." That night changed not just their image, but the entire tone of online fandom. Director Songyun, who had worked with Sukai early in his career, posted, "It takes courage to endure in silence, but even greater courage to break that silence with kindness." Tan Songyun's agency released a short statement. "Miss Tan is deeply moved by the support and understanding from fans. She hopes her work continues to inspire positivity." Meanwhile, Sukai Studio shared a powerful message: rumors fade. Integrity remains. And just like that, a narrative once poisoned by gossip became a lesson in grace. Producers called, offering new projects. Magazines reached out to feature them not as gossip subjects, but as symbols of resilience. One editorial wrote, "Their honesty restored something rare in entertainment, faith." Even sponsors renewed contracts, citing their influence as proof that truth still sells. And yet, beneath the professional revival, what touched people most was something quieter: the way they spoke to each other, looked at each other, protected each other even in the face of a storm. In a world obsessed with chaos, Sukai and Tan Songyun reminded everyone that dignity still shines brighter than drama. Their legacy became more than a trending hashtag, it became a mirror reflecting what sincerity looks like when the world demands spectacle. And so, long after the live ended, long after the numbers stopped climbing, one message kept circulating: rumors fade. Lies disappear. But the way they held on to each other through it, that's what we'll remember. Because that night wasn't just a PR move or an apology, it was an awakening. It reminded millions that empathy is not weakness and truth, no matter how late it arrives, will always outshine fiction. The internet, for once, didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like a homecoming. And somewhere, in that fragile peace, two people who had been hurt beyond measure found solace, not just in each other, but in the understanding that the world, at least for one night, finally listened. And maybe that's why the story still lingers, why people rewatch the live again and again. Because deep down, we all crave what they showed: honesty, forgiveness, and quiet strength. The kind that doesn't scream to be believed, it simply exists. The kind that rebuilds trust, one truth at a time. Thank you for being part of this moment, for feeling this story with us. If this touched you, if it reminded you of the power of sincerity in a world full of noise, don't forget to subscribe to 24H News, TM, where truth finds its voice and stories like this live on. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and tell us, what did this moment mean to you? Because sometimes, the stories we share aren't just about celebrities, they're about all of us, learning to be a little kinder, a little braver, and a little more real.